Hello, everyone. This week on Reliving the Extreme, we are discussing the episode of ECW TV from December the 3rd, 1996. The brothers Max and Nate and Aaron here with you.
Hello.
Hello. We are awaiting Mr. Chad Austin. Send him the link.
Do a run in.
Maybe he'll do a run in. Maybe he won't. It's okay. But either way, hope everybody's having a happy new year out there. Here in Ohio, cold as fuck. I looked at the forecast today. The Weather Channel app went out to the 22nd, and still nothing over probably 22. There's Chad. Chad's here with us on Reliving the Extreme.
Just saying, we're in that point of the season where it's like, oh, it's 25. I guess I don't need two jackets.
Yeah. Like Jesus Christ.
Wear two jackets today.
It's not gonna be above 30 for the next like 3 weeks.
Oh, it's 25 there?
It hit 25 today, yeah.
Oh, dude, you should be breaking out the shorts. Oh man, I think they teased us with announcing that the high was going to be around 25. The around was not around here.
you look outside and it's like spitting that snow that just rubs it in that it's fucking cold. Looks like fucking Moscow. Like Jesus Christ.
I let my little tiny poodle out to piss earlier and had to fucking go out there with a hammer and a chisel to get her to come back in the house because it fucking locked onto her leg. And when she squatted and the pee just fucking froze to her shit. I heard some like squealing. And I didn't know whether it was a wolf or another dog or something. I went over there. I'm like, "What the fuck is?" I'm like, "Dude, pink." And I'm trying to get the shit off her leg. It was coming out like that. I mean, maybe she's sick. Maybe she ate some ice and she shit ice. I don't know. But it's 19 now. And I think we're at our high. Like this is what it's been like today.
Yeah, my dog she's a breed that's made to be in the cold. So getting her to come inside is a pain in the ass. Like, you motherfucker, I'm not coming to get you.
Look at this piece of shit.
And then she just looks at you.
Yeah. That she just like looks like a jogger. She's got cancer and she's 14. I mean, what the fuck? I'm lucky she still can go outside.
Right. You don't have to carry her out there on your own.
Don't you just love it when a dog knows when they fuck up? You know, because sometimes it's so cold when I open the door to put her out, she walks out to like on the back deck, and then she'll look at me and be like, "I don't want to do this," and then I'll let her come back in, and then I'll wait a couple hours, and then I won't see her, and then I wonder where she's at, and I'll go to the bathroom and I'll turn the light on, and bam. That's where she went to the bathroom, man. and I'm searching the house looking for her. She's underneath somebody's bed. You know what I mean? She knows.
She's like, "Look, motherfucker, it's cold out."
I'm like, I don't mind.
Our old dog. Oh, sorry. Like a little dog, and she died like a long time ago or whatever. But like, she got to the point where she just couldn't even ask, like, if she had to go, she just went, so you couldn't even be mad about it. But she picked, like, her main spot was like in my bathroom on the bath mat.
That's
like,
it. That's what Tink does. Yeah,
you just walk in there and you'd be like, like, it got to the point where every time I went into the restroom, like every time I went in the bathroom, I made sure I turned the light on before I even walked in.
Dude,
I did
same thing. Same thing.
Shit anymore. And you can't get mad at them. You know what I mean? You can't get mad at her. Yeah, I mean, you can't, and you couldn't get mad at her. She was like 17 and sick. Yeah, it's like, whatever.
Well, she's not doing
it's
it
not
anywhere
like she
else.
was like dropping. It's not like she was dropping like massive deuces. She was like a little dog, so it's like, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, at least Tink goes into the bathroom. You know what I mean? I give her credit for at least she knows that, you know, if I can get to the bathroom, at least it's goodwill. It's an attempt. It's not in the kitchen, on the land, you know, in the living room or anything else.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible when my dog's sick. and she, she can't control it or whatever while we're at work or whatever, because Aaron's seen my dog. She's big, and her shits are the size of the cat. Yeah, no, her shits are the size of the cat. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, when Sadie would shit,
need to get a hazmat suit to clean it up.
Oh no!
Like Sadie would shit, and you could just like pick it up with like one piece of toilet paper or whatever.
I need a snow shovel over here.
Yeah.
Well, I have a friend of mine that lives in Florida. He's a referee, but he tried to be a worker. So I don't know if you ever see any of my comments on any posts I make when I make a joke about a dude named Chris Clow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, that's what my dog drops. A bunch of Chris Clow matches.
Oh yeah, speaking of people on the internet.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Do you want to bring up the clown you were going at with the last week? I don't know. I was like, well, this might be a material for the podcast.
I don't know which one you're talking about.
The guy that said you never wrestled in ECW.
Oh, what was that? Was that the Rodney Friedman dude?
I don't know. His name was like not even a name. It was like Pro Wrestling something or other. Like
Pro Wrestling Jackasses.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got this stupid page. This page that he tries to like expose people, and he posted a picture of Jason, and he was saying, "Oh, I mean, me and Jason were never friends. Anything. We know what I mean." And all I did was commented that he was my manager in ECW, and that's all it took. After that guy jumped in, then after a while, another guy jumped in, and I'm like, dude, I got nobody on my side here. Like, and then I started thinking, I don't have to defend myself. I'm on fucking Peacock.
Right.
It's not even a fake name. You know what I mean? Like, I can send you a screen picture of me, and it looks like the guy on TV on Peacock. And yeah, so he runs. Apparently, he says he runs shows here. In the last show, and he told me that he's friends with New Jack's mom. And I was like, okay, well, that and 25 cents will get you on the bus. I don't fucking. What is New Jack's mom gonna? You know what I mean?
The fuck does New Jack's mom have to do with anything?
New Jack didn't have anything. So what could his mama have? And then I got into it with some other kid that I didn't even realize it was a kid. He said he runs. He got into it too, and he said he runs conventions and all kinds of stuff. And then somebody messaged me on the side and told me, "Hey man, just to let you know, that's a kid, and he's got special needs." Oh. And I was just like, "Oh, come on, dude! Like, what is that? Am I going to be the dick that's going to be, that's going to go there?" And guess what? I was the dick, and I went there. I was like, I let him beat me up for a little while, and then I just dropped the bomb on him and was asking him about what the parking was like at the Special Olympics, and like all kinds of stuff. And then he started. The next thing I know, I told him I can get him. I got 4 passes for AEW here next week, and they're doing a meet and greet. And I kept asking him, "Is there anybody you want to meet? Like I can take you backstage and wheel you around.
Make a wish, little buddy."
Yeah, that's what I was telling him. Because Tony Khan does a lot of them for Make a Wishes.
So this kid, you said, does conventions.
Yeah.
Did any of his conventions involve John Cena?
No.
Because if not, his needs probably aren't that special. Because John Cena would show up.
No, like that one guy I got into a fight with was all because he booked Joey Janela, and he said he had to get more seats like for his show, and I commented like, "You mean you had to get some seats?" Like, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Well, what have you ever done?" I was like, "Oh, here we go." You know what I mean? And so I got into it with him, and then all his friends jumped into it, and that's how that Pro Wrestling Jackasses guy got involved. And then some girl messaged me on the side who didn't want to get involved publicly. And she said that she was somehow mixed up in Jason and started telling me all the stuff that Jason did. And then all of a sudden, some other girl messaged me and said, "Hey, listen, if a girl named so and so messages you, don't believe her." And then she sent me her mugshot, and it was like, and then she goes, "She lives by you." She goes, "You live in Tennessee?" I was like, "Yeah," and she goes, "Yeah, she lives in like whatever county." She said, and I said it's like 30 minutes away. She's like, "Don't give her your address." And I'm like, what is going on here?
Yeah, well, what have I gotten myself into? I don't even like Jason. What the fuck is going on?
Dude, I mean, I don't. There's nothing about any of this that I like. You know, I went to a couple of the crappy shows here. They're crappy. I mean, you know, I even stopped going because they were too bad. I couldn't even make fun of them. And then I entertained them for a little while, for one night while I was just laying in bed and stuff. And next thing I know, I'm not getting booked for some special needs convention. And and then I'm getting mugshots from a girl that fucking smokes meth that I have no idea who the hell she is either. Well, this is East Tennessee, everybody.
Well, we're going to talk about ECW here. December 3rd, 1996 is the episode we're discussing. We open with footage from last week, all the stuff with Sabu and Taz finally, coming to a head. Joey does an intro discussing the fact that they had come face to face for the first time, and I believe he said a year and a half. And then full disclosure, for me, I didn't do my job here because we have a match between Taz and RVD to start the show. It's fan cam footage. And I couldn't do the whistle, man. I had to fast forward. That was fucking annoying. I had to fast forward through a lot of this match. That the whistle was very overbearing during this match.
Yeah, it wasn't much, really. I mean, besides the whistle, because it was only probably 4 minutes, maybe.
Yeah. I didn't have to fast. I didn't have to. I just fast forwarded to I saw what looked like a finish of some sort, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna pick it up here because that whistle was annoying the shit out of me.
The story of the match was basically that, if you remember, Taz had ended up giving RVD
Sabu
like insider information on Taz's weaknesses, like with his neck and all that. Well, now Joey's putting over that Sabu is now telling RVD Taz's weaknesses. So
they've been
that's
teasing
part
us
of the
anyway.
story. Yeah. And then they're like the BWO was involved because that comes in later in the show. Like during the match, like BWO comes out and like goes through the crowd, which distracts Taz for a little bit and lets RVD get some of the advantage. And what was shown of the match was obviously good because it's Taz and RVD, so it's not going to be bad, But that was basically what they were doing. It's just saying that now Sabu is basically Taz can't get at Sabu, so he's going after RVD to try to draw out Sabu, and Sabu's telling RVD go for his neck and shit like that.
Go for anybody's neck. I mean, seriously.
One thing I did note about this episode, and as we go through, obviously, but I noticed like we're out of footage, obviously, from November to Remember, and I don't think they've had their next ECW Arena show. So all the footage on this show is for ECW, Chad, for a company like ECW. Would you call these spot shows, or do they regard these as tapings too, or when they're in the not arena shows?
Well, if it was not an arena and they needed footage, then it would have had to have been like their bigger spot shows. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, because this was in Downingtown, right?
Yeah, that footage was, and then I forget where they said the next matchup was, but that was from a different. There's like 2 or 3 different arenas that these matches are from in this episode.
Yeah, one of them was from Downingtown, Pennsylvania, because I've been there, and I think one of them was from somewhere in New York that I never went to.
Yeah, it was definitely New York. It wasn't Middletown, but it was something like that, some little burg in New York State.
And it wasn't an Elks Lodge either. So I don't know where that was.
And I should have written it down, but I didn't.
I don't think he said it because I would have.
I don't think he said it either.
No, yeah,
it was a weird looking building, but
the only one that I knew was Downington.
Because the building almost looked like it almost looked like that. It almost looked like it was set up like that building that WWF would run in Worcester. That looked more like kind of like a theater. But anyway, I'm getting in the weeds here. But they show us footage from a match between Chris Candido and Mikey Whipwreck from November to Remember,
which is a good match. Like I said, I know you guys we didn't cover it, but I watched it just because I like watching the November to Remembers because it's kind of like their mania or whatever. But Mikey and Candido had a really good match.
Well, but they wrestled the Eliminators on this show, though, right?
No, well, yeah, they do, but they should. Before that, they showed the footage, a little bit of footage from their November to Remember match where they shook hands at the end, and Candido showed the respect for Mikey.
Yeah, he said he'd be his partner anytime he ever asked him for it.
Yeah,
which I mean, seriously,
and then
you know what's coming.
They call that telegraph.
But it's also funny too because we talked about last week if they were going to hold up on the stipulations, and
I have that. I have that written down here.
Joey mentions that Hack was supposed to be Mikey's tag team partner, and he can't. So Chris Candido steps up to team with him to face the Eliminators.
Aaron, if you took notes, did they say that Hack lost a loser leave town match, so he was gone for 6 days or 60 days?
60 days. Okay. It was in that whole thing with Too Cold last week.
All right. Well, I was curious because I was kind of writing something down, and I heard it. I just didn't hear 60. I'm like, 6 days. Like you know, again, you ain't running a show for a week.
You don't even run every 6 days. What the fuck?
Yeah. I'm glad you said that, but that was what Hack was probably either leaving or he wasn't coming up from Florida. Paul wasn't transiting him. You know, hey, did anybody catch the Mike Lano reference?
Yeah,
no, I did not.
When
yeah, that's in there. It's coming up.
Question. I know you said, Chad, that Hack had. Had he moved to Florida, like taking up residence in Florida?
Yeah.
And so where was he? Was he still working when he was down there, or was he going to try to get out of the business, or?
Well, he worked for ECW when they were in Florida one time, but they didn't plan on going back. And as far as I know, like after a while, me and Hack kind of lost contact. And I don't think it was, well, it was a little bit after this, but it wasn't too much longer after this before Hack got sick. So I would say probably about 5 years after this was probably the end of Hack.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he was working for some little outlaw shows down in Florida from what I know of. But but after they weren't going to fly him in. And so I guess that's why we probably said on the last show, that's why the stipulation was that he had to lose or leave.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was just going to be gone.
You go down and work with Phi Delta Slam.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, but they made a comment during that match about I think when Candido got knocked off the ring apron, I think. And Joey Styles says he might have to go see Dr. Mike Lano after the match. And I was like, ooh, I wonder if anybody caught that.
That's in my notes.
But yeah, the story. Go ahead, Aaron.
I was just gonna say the story leads into Candido deciding to team with Mikey Whipwreck to face the Eliminators, and Candido before it puts Mikey over as being a worthy opponent, and then says the Eliminators are the best tag team in wrestling, and since Hack has to leave, he'll team with Mikey, and he's starting out like obviously he's like trying to be a face, but as the match goes, the story of the match, Nate, I don't mean to talk over you or whatever, but the story of the match is that basically Mikey's taken pretty much all of the beating, and Candido's kind of short arming him and not wanting to get in the match, and
Well,
keeps getting hit by the eliminators and knocked off the apron.
explain to me the logic of why. If Candido pretty much knew what he was going to do ahead of time, why go through all this? You know what I'm saying? If he was already going to turn on Mikey. I mean, he can't say that he wasn't going to.
Right.
I mean, so he went out there and let Mikey take a beating.
Because he starts doing ridiculous things, like he gets knocked off the apron. He's like, I can't hear. Like he's holding his ear. He's like, I can't
That's
hear.
great shit.
Like he does ridiculous. No, and I'm not saying it, but I see Chad's point too. Whereas, like, why even team with the guy if you're just gonna fuck him anyway? Just let him be double teamed. You know, I don't know. And also you're giving up the winner's side of the purse if you're talking about wrestling logic,
right?
But it's even a bigger dick move than let the guy get. It's even a bigger dick move than just letting the guy get beat up to being like, "Hey, I'll be out there to help you," and then you just don't. I don't know. It was good stuff.
Okay, all right, Aaron.
There's a couple questions or whatever that I had out of this match, but also
he could have easily turned on him some other time. I mean, he didn't really. I mean, unless he legitimately thought Mikey was a threat to him, you know, which nobody in ECW did. Like logically, you know, he was Mikey to get beat up. So why can't he just save it, like, and turn on him another time? Why he had to go out there and pretend like he couldn't hear? I was just like, I'm watching it, going, all right, this match is obviously just killing time. And it was the showcase for the Eliminators.
One of the observations I had, speaking of showcase for the Eliminators, is when that handspring elbow that Cronus does is a very impressive looking maneuver. But is it not one of the most like unbelievable like wrestling things? Like this guy goes into this entire thing, and it's almost like the Van Daminator. You know, it's like, why would you catch the chair? Like, why would you stand there the entire time this pudgy guy's flipping at? You know what I mean? I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense.
Because in the reality of the spot would have been on the handspring elbow. It's kind of how Muda does it. When you know how Muda, like, he's kind of like in the jump into the corner when he hits the handspring, but like Cronus has to like land on his feet to jump backwards into the corner. So you lose that whole momentum of doing the handspring. You know what I mean? So it's like, why didn't he just do the hokey pokey and give yourself a twirl or something and then hit the guy in the corner? Because the handspring didn't mean anything. He pretty much backed him into the corner. Is what he did. But it's wrestling.
Yeah. And then the other two questions I had out of it was, I don't know if phrasing it right will be. I don't know if the way I wrote it down will make sense, but do you guys think that like Chris Candido is kind of like a Louis, where he just like I know he made it to the WWF and WCW and all that, but he had his issues or whatever, and it wasn't even drugs that took him out, it was an injury. But like when he got hurt and died, he was on kind of like the upswing of his career where he was clean. And do you guys think he would have been able to wind up back in like the WWE and been a bigger deal, or do you think he would have been just?
Nah, he was stuck. He was stuck there. I think he already burnt that bridge, the WWE bridge. I mean, for that time period. You know, given if he would have lasted another 5, maybe 7 years, you know, and then maybe things would have been different, and then he may have had another chance because Tom would have went to bat for him, right?
Well, and I see what Chad's kind of saying. Like when he passed, he was with TNA, and like you said, Aaron, it was kind of coming up roses for him, which was awesome. I think if Candido lives he winds up. I do think he would wind up maybe within the NXT system doing something.
So I was gonna say, like, that seems like a great spot for that guy,
as long as
worker coach.
You know, and plus with
Right.
with Hunter and Sean, you know, the whole stuff with any kind of click heat or anything. I think time heals the wounds in wrestling. You know what I mean? And I mean, really, to be honest with you, let's be honest. The problems between Chris Candido and the Click all were fucking Tammy's fault. So you take Tammy out of the mix, and they probably don't have it. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, they're probably like, what were we fucking arguing about, man? Jesus Christ, this fucking cunt.
Look at her now. Like, she looks like Axel Rotten.
If you would have taken Tammy out of the mix,
sorry,
Chris would have never had a problem to begin with.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I'm sure those guys would have been like looking back 20 years in the past, going, Jesus Christ, all that over some worthless whore. That you know what I mean? Like, Jesus.
Did you see the footage of him, like his physique when they showed him like in Puerto Rico? Like, oh my God, dude! I mean, I've known Chris like forever, and I have never seen him like that out of shape. Like he had like love handles. I mean, legitimately, when they showed him like wearing the old Terry Funk thermal underwear, and he was in Puerto Rico, and I'm looking at him, I'm like, he's got a gut, and that was what his brother said. His brother said something on Dark Side about him wanting to die looking his best with blonde hair, a tan. And I'm like, but look at his body.
And that guy went from like he ended up looking like that. He got in better shape when he got to TNA, obviously, but there was a point where that guy that guy split his bicep by flexing, because that's how much fucking muscle mass he had to becoming that floppy dude in Puerto Rico. I just think, like I said, I think if he wouldn't have got hurt, in TNA, he probably would have wound up back.
Yeah, but he was getting hurt before TNA. Like his ECW killed him. Like after ECW, like, you know, he was probably still on the gas, and which is not going to be good for your body in the long haul, considering he wasn't a big frame to begin with. And then you develop when you're
5'8".
Yeah, you're developing. No, he wasn't even 5'8". And you're developing a drug habit on top of that. Boy, he was begging for it. So he had a major uphill battle if he ever wanted to get back into you know, a major company. But I'll give it to him. I mean, he didn't stop trying. He maybe should have, but he didn't.
And then, sorry, Nate. And then I was just gonna say the last question I got in here, because, like I said, there's not a lot of meat on the bones for the show. But the other question I had was, do you guys think that Perry Saturn should be considered one of the more underrated wrestlers of the 90s? I think he is.
Well, I don't know about whole 90s, but yeah, I mean, underrated. I don't know. I think he was pretty. I think he held a pretty good position. I mean, as far as where he was.
Just saying, like. Well, I know, like, at the time, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, when people talk about it now, like, you don't hear a lot of people be like, "Oh man, Perry Saturn was the fucking bomb." You know what I mean? It's like, I just don't think he gets enough credit for how fucking good he was, in my opinion.
I think it's because one of the reasons I'll say is because now, for good or for bad, for better or for worse, because they won, the WWE controls the narrative of the history of the business. And I'm not, this could change with Triple H, because Triple H and Saturn trained together and shit. Maybe Saturn will get some love, but I think that what happened with Saturn And I agree with you, Aaron. I think that he doesn't get enough talk about how good he was. And the Eliminators don't get near enough talk for what a great fucking tag team they were. But
that I agree with.
What happened was he came in this lump group of people with Guerrero, Saturn, Benoit, Malenko. He comes in with the Radicals. And unfortunately for him, of those 4 guys, he was the one that WWE just didn't latch onto and try to push. You know what I mean? Once they were all separated and everything, he kind of got lost in like the moppy shit and all that kind of stuff, and kind of was treated like kind of a goof. But if anybody would go back,
shit's fun.
But I didn't say it. What I'm saying is, in their narrative that they have structured over the past 25 years since then, he just doesn't get brought up. And if he doesn't get brought up as you go through and you know, as new fans come along, new generations of fans know who Goldberg is because WWE has kept telling them who Goldberg is. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I agree with you that he's kind of he's almost forgotten to time as far as like just recognition in the business goes.
That could have been just really his just own fault. Because, I don't know anything about no personal problems, but he seemed to never be happy anywhere. You know, he was kind of, after ECW, he went to WCW for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, he was there for a little while. And I would look at it like, okay, maybe they didn't do enough with him that he probably became somewhat of a problem. You know, maybe backstage that we don't know about, and they let him go. So he goes to WCW, and let's be honest, out of the whole Radicals, he's the lesser of all of them, right? The Malenko, Benoit, Guerrero, Saturn.
Right.
You know, I mean, he might as well have been Uranus. I mean, so his problems could have been mentally, not like drug wise or anything like that. It just could have been he just couldn't deal with the fact that he couldn't break out of whatever, you know, pigeonhole he had him in.
And then what happened to spiral him out of control? Didn't he like save a lady from a mugging or something, but get all fucked?
That was after the WWE thing. Or whatever.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I know he spiraled out of control and like came up missing from the world for a while.
Part of it was that he walked up on a chick getting like mugged and raped, and he ended up. I think he actually got shot. But
that wasn't where I was going with this. But I'm glad it ended the way you said it did. Because I was going to knowing Saturn, he ended up walking on somebody getting mugged and raped, and then he ended up mugging and raping somebody. Like, because it was already in progress, so it was already easier for him. You know, because he wasn't smart enough to do it on his own. He's like, well, she's already laying there. And the dude dropped the wallet.
I know his WWE career came kind of crashing down because he fucked that Mike Bell guy up. I don't know if you guys ever watched that or not, but
I haven't in years. But you mentioning it brought it back into my memory. Yeah,
it's funny because now you mentioned it was Mike Bell. I was first thing popped in my mind was who didn't fuck up Mike Bell. It seemed like he was the perennial job guy that you always see in the clips of like when guys were like stiffing people and stuff. Mike Bell.
And then I was like, in my mind, I was like, Saturn fucked up Mike LaBelle?
Mike LaBelle. No, Mike Bell.
So his father,
and if you watch it,
his father Gene had him blackballed.
And that shit's funny too, because if you watch it, even like as it's going on, Terry's like, Perry, stop it, like cut it out. like that guy potatoed Perry, and Perry fucked him up to the point where Terry was like, dude, you're gonna hurt my push. Stop fucking this guy up.
Hey, he was like when I knew him from Memphis, well, they hadn't been anywhere. But yeah, I was always cool with him. I know I never had a problem with him or Cronus, even when we worked together. Like, they asked me about taking the finish, And I was happily, I was like, yeah, I'll take it because I think I tagged with Donnie, I think. And I was like, yeah, I'll take it. Like, let me do it. You know what I mean? Because I mean, I know you're not going to hurt me because I do trust you guys, but I don't know what Donnie thinks or what you think for, you know what I mean? Or whoever my partner was, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, yeah, and it was fine. I never had a problem with the guy, but he wasn't
and
like the most sanest dude I've ever been around.
so to say, and I don't want to spend too much time on Perry Saturn, but it's almost
But
kind
come
of like
on.
it's almost kind of like a Pitbull 2 thing where it's like if you look at a guy that just looks intimidating, you know what I mean? Like that's what Perry Saturn was to me. It's like that guy looks like he could fuck you up, and he probably could in real life, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
And having that fucking goofy eye, I mean, you never know who he's going to
That's what I'm
fuck up.
saying. Like,
You fuck up his whole surroundings.
You looking at me? You looking at him? You looking at me? You looking at him?
He's like, I'm looking at everybody. But I'm the only one here.
Well, after the Eliminators win this match, Candido does a promo with Joey on the match, kind of like acting innocent, you know, doing that whole shtick. And then it's like I was annoyed at the beginning of the show by the whistle, and I'm annoyed by the camera work during this Joel Gertner segment.
My mom had a
we know
seizure during it.
you remember GTV, right? From the WWE.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is GATV.
Okay, what's that mean?
It's Gene Anderson TV.
Oh, God. My mom came in like she hates ECW, and she always like she doesn't hate it, but she always comes in the living room when I'm watching it, and they're showing Gertner with his stupid shirt off, and they're doing the whole the guy's having a seizure with the camera, like she always catches it at that time all the time, and I got to tell her, Mom, just go into the kitchen, like the dude's not having a seizure. She's like, look at him.
Yeah, that's like the old scenario of like, you know, every time I'm watching wrestling and no one else is in the room and it's like a great wrestling match, and then like every time I'm watching wrestling and somebody walks into the room and it's like Vince McMahon with his ass out and a cowboy hat on.
Yeah, you can't explain it to anybody. Like my mom was, you know, questioning my sexuality, and she walks in and sees Gertner with his shirt off and a bow tie on, and he's always home. And I come, what do you got to think for this guy? No, Ma, he's the quintessential stud muffin. Don't you get it?
I gotta say that it's either one of two people had to be Gertner's cameraman. It had to be Gene Anderson or Joe Cocker. I don't know which one, but it was one of them.
Well, it could have been Perry Saturn with his eye. He's trying to like film.
It's Gene.
Well, that one would have just kept circling. Like that would have just kept going like left, right, center. This thing's all over the place. So
it's Gene Anderson. It's Gene Anderson, Joe Cocker, or Michael J. Fox.
God damn. And none of them get credit at the end of the show either. Wouldn't that be the best if they just rolled the credit and just say cameraman, Gene Anderson, Michael J. Fox? Now, I'd appreciate that. God, Gene Anderson again with a Gene Anderson.
If the camera's all over the place, he's holding it.
I'm beginning to think you have a thing for this guy, Gene Anderson.
Well, my notes on the thing here is
Gertner. Man, I'm just saying. Sorry. I was just saying, like Gene Anderson. There's nobody that took like, how do I want to say it? Like
pride.
He took a tick or a disability that he had, and it made him so much more intimidating. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Just him having that problem. Like, it's just made it like.
His handicap made him
Yeah,
threatening.
him standing behind like Ole cutting a promo, and Gene just back there like doing that shit. It's like that's just intimidating.
He's standing in the back looking like Bulldog Brower. He's all just staring all over the place and stupid stuff. It's like he's hearing voices and shit. Like I watched them. I watched them Georgia today, and he was on it, and that's when I noticed that when Ole was like cutting a promo, and Gene was just standing behind him, and he the first thing that popped in my mind was it's Bulldog Brower. He's all just looking all around, and he's like he has the old man. He was probably 50, and he was 78 because he had the old man bald head and the
That's what I was gonna say. He looked 70 when he was 35.
He never looked young.
I think Anderson's dead.
Gene is,
and none of them were related either. They found these like 25-year-old, 25-year-old guys that look like they were 50 that all look kind of alike. It's like, what the fuck? And then this was like twitching in the back and shit. It's like, this Anderson clan's crazy.
Ole took out an ad in Old Observers or something, or the old Wrestling Review magazines, looking for 50-year or 25-year-old, 50-year-old looking guys with bald heads and love handles.
What I need is guys that look old. Marty Lundy, take off that goddamn hat.
Stop. You kill me.
So my note here is this is Gertner putting himself over. I literally have why this shaky fucking camera, and he overdoes it with the uns.
He overdoes it with the what?
The uns.
Oh, I thought you said puns. I was like,
no,
puns are his entire gimmick.
Yes. No, I was just saying this is a whole thing of him using words or expressions that start with un to get to the fact that Devon Dudley is the un-Dudley.
That's what it was. That was the punchline.
Yeah, that was the punchline, and it wasn't very good. As much as we love the Dudleys and Gertner, this wasn't good.
No,
they can't all be home runs,
even from the Dudley boys. Joe Gertner. Oh God, dude.
I'm ready for 96 to be over, and I'm ready for Devon and Bubba to become a team. I'm tired of this. Like, I'm tired of the un-Dudley thing.
We're getting there.
Devon. There. Yeah, I know, but I'm just.
Yeah, they more than planted that seed today. They watered it a little bit, and there was a little bit of seedling. Unlike Gene Anderson's head, there was a little bit of seedling going on because they mentioned Axel and Devon being a contender.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they ain't a contender for anything. Unless they're fighting for contention of who's tearing the ring down. Like, they only beat Chad and Mikey. They don't beat anybody.
After this segment, Joey does the fun thing where he flips out about how he hates that guy, Joel Gertner. And it's the predecessor to when Jason eventually comes back, and Jason makes him like itchy and stuff and gives him hives, which is a great fucking shtick that Joey came up with. But then the next like 10 minutes of the show,
don't say it,
is mostly recapping the Extreme. There's a lot of recaps of all the things that are going on in ECW. I did note that there's a promo of the Gangstas via satellite. Via satellite.
What satellite?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's pretty much all it was. It was set. It was. What was the No, maybe it was the later on the music that they were playing, which I would have thought that it would have still been November Rain. But the lyrics in the song were, "Why do you keep killing me?"
Yeah, I noticed that. I was hoping it was one that Aaron would Shazam, because I always think after the fact I should have Shazammed that song.
Was that during the Gangsters? promo?
Well, no, it's as they go through all of this shit, they finally get to that part where Tommy Dreamer's like, "It's all my fault. Everything's my fault," and he's being like emo.
I think it was that. I think it was
and then they went into the awkward Beulah video.
Yeah. You're gonna talk
I was
about
like, "Is
that?
this
That's fine.
that
Like,
song?" I was like,
okay.
"Is this Veruca Salt?"
That's what I thought it was.
No, I think
Did you really?
Did
Did you really? That was my. I was like, "Is this Veruca Salt?"
I thought it was if WWE was trying to, like the Peacock was trying to recreate something. I thought it sounded like that 90s song by Garbage.
I'm only happy when
I'm
it
trying to remember.
rains.
Yeah,
I don't
because
think
that
it
was like
yet.
it's not.
I thought
WWE
Seether by Veruca Salt, but
That's what I thought it would have been.
I thought it was that Garbage song because I was like, this is not Garbage. It's WWE.
You got it
Peacock,
half right.
so it's recycling.
It was Garbage, but it wasn't the band. But I just love the lyrics though. It was, "Why do you keep killing me?" And I gave the TV my whole like shoulder shrug look like, yes, why? Why do you keep killing me with this garbage?
That's what I was gonna say. That's what we're all asking about Tommy Dreamer's bad acting. Why do you keep killing me with this?
God, dude, I thought we were gonna make it today too. I thought we were on a stretch here. He was still looking for a cell phone and some Suzuki Samurai or something at the hospital.
So you thought it was Veruca Salt?
Yes.
Well, it's Farouk Pepper, and as this song's playing, this is what we get.
Oh, you got it?
Joey Styles I don't know the song, but Joey Styles discusses the Raven, Peaches, Sandman, along with Sandboy situation. And upcoming, we're going to get Raven and Sandman in a barbed wire match. And then Joey discusses Beulah and Francine's situation, which evolved into Dreamer and Douglas and the Pit Bulls. We get that weird, like, she's not that hot, but she's hot enough for wrestling stripper video of Beulah.
Oh, I totally got that vibe. I'm glad you said that, Aaron, because I totally got that vibe too, where I was looking at her and I'm just like, dude, she's not that fucking good looking. but she's, I even said it, I was like, but she's wrestling hot.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, if the lights are dimmed enough and it's last call, you might, you know.
She reminded me of that episode of Seinfeld where George was dating a girl and Kramer just says, "You're as good looking as anybody else. You just need a nose job." Because I can't get past that nose either. That's like her biggest flaw.
I wrote down
or like it's almost like a Seinfeld reference, which I don't watch a lot of Seinfeld, but it's almost that kind of like when Jerry has that girl and Bryan Cranston and that whatever, and she's like in the bad lighting, and he's finally sees how bad looking she is. Yeah,
yeah, she's kind of like that.
Like,
one of the notes that I wanted to get to from this segment that I had was, I'd said Tommy Dreamer with his bad acting. He kept saying, "It's my fault. It's my fault. This happened. It's my fault that happened." And I put down, I was almost expecting Gene Snitsky to walk in and go, "Tommy, it wasn't your fault."
It's always your fault, put upon Tommy. You're the worst. He also says that, like, he talks about all this shit that he gave up, and he says that he gave Douglas his innocence. It's like, gross. I don't need to know what you guys did in that Geo tracker.
Dude, I was waiting for just somebody, like, I didn't think of Snitsky, but I was waiting for somebody, literally waiting for somebody to go, "You're right, Tommy. It is all your fault."
It's all your fault. And he, like I said, "I gave Douglas my innocence." Ew.
What if Paul would have did it? Paul would have walked in, threw his like hat off, threw it on the ground, and go, "You're right. You made me sit at home in your mom's house and edit this crap, and this is all your fault, Tommy. You told me to book fucking, whoever, Big Valpuccio." It's all your fault, Tommy.
This all flows into fan cam footage of an ECW TV title match between Shane Douglas and Tommy Dreamer. And good God almighty, fucking Brian Lee is involved.
It's funny because I was like, Douglas and Brian Lee work over Dreamer. And in parentheses, it goes, great.
I'm almost starting to think that
Very sarcastic.
I'm almost starting to think that maybe Brian Lee was snowed in, like his flight kept missing or something. Like he couldn't leave. It's not because they didn't want him to leave. He didn't have any money for a hotel, and his flight kept getting canceled, so they just kept bringing him back. Because he's another one of them guys where we always remember when Jericho wouldn't leave, and we thought he was done, and then he'd be. I'm like, we thought Brian Lee was gone.
That's how I am. Like I remember Tommy Dreamer and Brian Lee. I do not remember Tommy Dreamer and Brian Lee lasting 10 fucking months. Like, Jesus Christ.
What's funny is like I never thought about it until Cornette brought it up on one of his podcasts, was that Paulie doesn't know how to end anything.
No.
Like he always has great ideas, but he has no idea how to end it.
Dude,
and he wasn't even knocking him, you know? He was just like, that guy has no idea how to end a feud. So he's like, let's just keep throwing fucking fuel on it.
Brian Lee and Tommy Dreamer touched more than me and my wife did. like they couldn't keep their hands off each other. They should have just played the wedding song.
I also like thinking about it. if it's real, like trying to think about it like Brian Lee's character's perspective. It's like, Jesus Christ, I put this guy through 7 tables. I hit him in the dick with a cinder block. I broke his girlfriend's neck. This guy just won't leave.
Dude, he sounds like my ex-wife. Like she did all that to me. They just couldn't break up.
But in this whole situation with Brian Lee and Shane Douglas, Shane is going to go to do a belly-to-belly suplex on Beulah. Pitbull 2 comes to the ring, saves Beulah and Tommy from their beatdown. And then we flash to the BWO behind the curtain. And I'm glad you mentioned, Aaron, that they were out there during the RVD Taz match, because I didn't know that. Because, again, I skipped it because I couldn't stand the fucking whistle. So now I know the context for why Taz was, because I was like, why is Taz bullying the BWO? Now I get it.
And they bookended it. It's a good thing. I like when, and it's one of the things I was going to say was one of the positive things. And not that there's a lot bad about this show, but that was one of the positive things I was going to say was I like the fact they bookended it where BWO got involved in his match, and then he was like, I don't want you motherfucking ridiculous sons of bitches getting involved in my shit. You know?
Yeah.
It's like they took the most serious guy on the show and the most ridiculous thing on the show and intertwined them, and I enjoyed that.
Now, one thing I did write down is I did like the fact that with Taz threatening them, it made like Meanie drop his bullshit. You know what I mean? Like they were like, oh, okay, what the fuck? Like they dropped their silly gimmicks and were like, all right, shit's serious here. And I did like that effect, but
yeah, I had thought the show was over by now. I thought, I literally thought the show was over, like during the whole Beulah striptease thing, and I really had to go to the bathroom. and when I came back, I'm like, then I saw the very end of it. I'm like, what did I miss? Like I was like, Beulah's been dancing for 7 minutes now. You know what I mean? I was just waiting for the credit for the the whoever the cameraman or whoever it was.
She's stripping the Stairway to Heaven? What the fuck?
Yeah, and she still never took anything off.
She's stripping the Paradise by a dashboard light.
I was gonna say anything by Santana.
Yeah.
Aqualung.
Yeah. 'Cause, 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 Like I gave it like 4 or 5 minutes. You know, I'm thinking, okay, she's stripping. She's not going to get naked. It's TV. I get it. But I'm like, but I really got to go to the bathroom. So I'm like, did I miss the, you know what I mean? Like the Geffen record, David, whatever is at the very end of it, kind of credit, or on Peacock where it says who's coming up next. And I'm like, God. And I came back and I still caught the very end of it where he said who was coming up, that the next show was coming up. Like she really must have been dancing for at least what do you think it was?
Oh, that thing went on forever. It seemed like it was at least 3.5 minutes.
She hits the stage, hits the pole, and it's like, put upon a Tommy.
Dude, has anybody seen Beulah naked? She don't take anything off, well, except for the magazine. Or then she did a movie, right? Or she was in a magazine. What did she do?
Yeah.
Because I had whatever it was, but I can't remember.
I don't remember myself either.
No, she did a movie. All she did was a masturbation movie. That's what she did. And she didn't show anything in that either. I remember. It was all a big tease. Because I remember it now. It was going around where she was talking about it, or it was going around on the sheets and all the other stuff about how there was this X-rated movie of Beulah's that came out, and when I finally got my hands on it and I watched it, she didn't do nothing. She did more at the end of the show than she did on the home video.
Well, I have to say, overall, even though they had to splice shit together and they didn't have any like ECW arena footage and everything, and there was some annoying things like the whistle and the shaky camera, this wasn't a bad episode of ECW. It was average. I gave it a C+.
Easily. Yeah,
because you know the match in the middle, the tag match in the middle was great.
Dean Anderson, though, he could have made it a B.
I enjoyed the show. I thought it was a good, like, I almost said something stupid, like, oh, it was a good representation of ECW. Obviously, because it was ECW, it was a representation of that. But it was like what you think of when you think of an ECW show, you know.
Right,
and it was good because it was Joey telling you what was coming up, and it's like you said, Nate. Like their November to Remember stuff is done now. So now they're building up for whatever they're doing next. Like, oh, we got Raven and Sandman are going to be in this barbed wire match, and Francine and Shane versus Beulah and Tommy, and they're building up their new shit. So I enjoyed it, and part I like some of these shows better because you don't have like you get some shit like with like you know. The Eliminators versus Mikey and Candido. You know what I mean? Like it's that type of stuff. I like seeing sometimes where it's not necessarily angles they're going to, but just guys on the card. You know?
And it's also like you said, Aaron, earlier, that this was not an ECW arena show. This was all like you would almost call it B-roll stuff, and it was still good.
Yeah.
You know, because it wasn't like all the main hot, you know, like ending of stuff or nothing like that. It was all stuff to keep stuff going. It was different locations. It was, you know, it was entertaining, you know. Like they made the best out of the worst.
A lot of times I enjoy the B-roll type ECW stuff more than their main shit. You know what I mean?
Oh, totally. I totally agree. So you're just waiting for the Dudley car to ride by again. That's the B-roll stuff right there. They can just add that into any show. God, yeah, it was a good show, I thought.
Well, as we prepare to wrap up, I don't know, Aaron, do you have any parting words for our listeners this week?
Just thanks for listening, and keep on keeping on. Like, share, comment, help it out. And if our Norwegian fans are still going strong, thank you.
Yeah, we're good.
Still fighting. Are
We're
we still
good.
fighting with? Are we still like fighting over territory with Bo James over in like Afghanistan or something in the morning?
I tell you what. If we can fight over obscure countries all day, but the fucking Norwegians, man, they are a stronghold for our podcast. So we appreciate those Nordic motherfuckers.
I got to put that on my bucket list. Like I could go over there, not to go sightseeing, but just to go fucking meet the
big
people.
blonde, beautiful bastards. Thank you.
yeah, big blonde, beautiful motherfucker, blue-eyed motherfuckers. Thank you, you
Appreciate
Vikings. Eat your buffalo or eat your fucking codfish or whatever the fuck you're eating and listen to Reliving the Extreme.
Godfish.
Big Jim Nord bastards. We appreciate everything you do.
And I do have to say real quick before, I gotta go too. I gotta pee, but before we sign off, I do want to say I finally got to listen to the entire thing. I went through a couple of meals and a couple of work days, but I finally got to listen to all of Chad on Between the Sheets with David Bixenspan and Chris Zellner. Definitely check it out. Chad did a great job talking December of '93 in the WWF, ECW, and WCW.
Have you checked out me on that Wrestling with Heart show yet?
I just saw you post it today, so I have not got to listen to that one yet. No,
it's not. It ain't the same as the Between the Sheets. It's a little
more as fun as this one though.
All right, we're gonna sign off, everybody. We'll see you next week on
baby.
Reliving the Extreme. Auf Wiedersehen.
Good.